Hey everybody, how you doing? It is the day after a long Thanksgiving weekend in which I totally blew my carnivore diet apart. And I got back on the scale. I was a nightmare. I just got back from a 4-mile walk, got the start-stop button off on here, talked to Dr. Cywes, a whole bunch of stuff to cover, and Eagles. Yeah, they won in a great overtime game this weekend, and I probably celebrated too much. And we're going to talk about what happened when I got back on that scale. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Rusty Nelson, and welcome. This is basically episode 2 as I venture into my carnivore, quote, diet, elimination diet, and this comes right after Thanksgiving. Now, for those of you that haven't been here before, I really appreciate you joining me, and this is a kind of a change up with this diet thing, but this channel has always been about this last trimester of my life and the things that I'm going through in hopes that some of these things that I'm talking about will help some people. Now, a big part of that was the villages. I'm interrupting this because this is actually the third day of making this. So you're going to see me in a totally different shirt. And I wanted to let you know that this, and the most important thing is, and you'll see how this fits in with this whole thing, is that this is Thursday morning. Sorry, it didn't come out on Wednesday. It'll come out today. And you'll understand how this fits in. When I woke up, I felt the ramifications from that long Thanksgiving Day weekend. You hear me talk about the puffiness in my hands and the aching in some of my joints, like this joint right here and this joint and in my toe that I haven't felt in 3 months. And I'm learning that when I go back on the sugar and carbs and stuff like that, which I did with this Thanksgiving, you're not going to believe what I did, that it takes a few days afterwards, you get back into the carnivore thing, and then those things start to show up. But I also wanted to tell you that this got long, but there may be interesting parts to some people and not to others. So these are the chapters I went through. The intro, which we're in right now, my game plan for this whole thing, why I got abusive with myself over Thanksgiving. Then my visit to Dr. Cywes and my blood work kind of wrapped up in one there. Had people ask me about meals, what I eat, because a lot of people don't understand this. So I actually cooked my dinner the night before I left for Thanksgiving and my breakfast that morning. And then my chaos with my glucose monitor as I went through Thanksgiving, which was absolutely crazy. And then at the very end of that, what I weighed in. And then the last section of this will be probably about around the 50-some minute mark. Comments and questions from you guys. So you can jump around in any of those. I'll put the chapters down below. Anyway, now back to the regularly scheduled program. And I have to say, I did this one video sometime, not too long ago, about this carnivore diet that I was going to try. And I want to thank all of the people in the villages that watched it, that actually stopped me and told me that they were actually doing that. And then again, all the people that have told me, I think maybe I'll try that after the holidays, which I don't know. We'll find out in a second about whether maybe that was a smart thing or not. And so this is the second one, and basically what I'm going to do is play catch up to where I am right now and kind of include a lot of things. So it may be a little long. I'll try to put the chapters down below. But, I have to say this up front. I am not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice. This is an experiment that I did. Spoiler alert, right before Thanksgiving, I lost almost 35 pounds. So that's huge. Anyway, the disclaimer is, this is an experiment that I'm doing. This isn't medical advice. I'm not telling you to do anything. One of the major things that I've learned through this whole thing is you have to do your own research because every single person is different although the basic foundation of it is the same for everybody. That's what this is all about for me, and I'll explain what my game plan is, and to tell you the truth, I'm right on that game plan. And you have to create a game plan, and you have to understand what is going on, because there's a lot of things that can happen, may happen, probably will happen with your body, because it's a change for your body. And if you don't understand what's going on, you may sit there and go, well, this is stupid, I'm not doing this. And if you do understand what's going on, you may be able to tweak it a little bit. All right. With that said, don't listen to anything I say. Don't take medical advice from me. Please see your doctor, consult with your physicians or whoever's involved with your medical part of your life. And I will put, this isn't going to be a mainstay of this channel. It's just another part along with pickleball that's probably going to come. And these are going to come out on Wednesdays, maybe every other Wednesday. For this, for instance, was because of Thanksgiving. This is a milestone right here. And the next one will be, I just got all of my blood tests, the major ones after seeing Dr. Cywes. And I haven't gotten any of those back. I'll explain all that and my visit with him. We're going to go over, people wanted to know about my blood work prior to the last 30 days. And when I did pure beef, butter, bacon, and eggs for 30 days, what my numbers turned out, whether they got any better. We're going to go through that. Talk about my game plan, my visit to Dr. Cywes, what tests he had me take, how long the test was, that type of thing. And anyway, let's just kind of get started on this whole thing. I will say one thing. This is Tuesday night, right after Thanksgiving. So go Eagles. That was quite a game if anybody saw that. And they won in overtime in the last few seconds of the game. Wonderful excitement. I probably need more blood pressure medicine after that. But I'm going to talk about a lot of things, and I'm guessing this is probably going to be an hour long. And there's a lot to cover in this, and I have a lot of information for people. And it's information of things that have happened to me. Now, whether you adopt those things or try those things, whatever. And also this weekend. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started on this. It's pretty exciting. I'm having a good time with this. Let me start with what my game plan was, because if you take a look at this, you're going to go, okay, well, he went on a carnivore diet, but it's not really a carnivore diet because he's playing around and doing this and doing that. So I had no idea whether this was going to work. And I started this right around the beginning of September. And I decided that I was going to do this. I was going to get a CGM, which I did, and I'll show you some readings from that. And then I was going to go for exactly 30 days. Now, I'd had a blood test before that. We'll talk about those in a few seconds and what changed in 30 days after doing this. And then I was going to do this for basically 30 days, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. That's it. And I know a lot of people say you're not supposed to jump right into this, but as I'll tell you in a bit, Dr. Cywes said, yes, you are a A-type personality, and I just went for it, and I'll tell you what happened with that also. But I did it for 30 days, and I went and got a blood test, and that was my whole goal. And then the next week, after those blood tests, actually, that afternoon, I went out with a friend, had popcorn, went out to a movie and everything else. For 1 week, I just went and did whatever I wanted. Now you're going, well, why would you do that? And the reason is I was trying to learn about myself. And through using the CGM and doing, I got a Keto Mojo. I'll put the links to these down below. You can get all this stuff through Amazon. I wouldn't tell you if I'm telling you about it, I like it. Otherwise, I won't tell you about it. And you can get them through these links. I get a little tiny bit if you do. It kind of helps sponsor this whole thing and pay for these microphones and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, at the end of that week, I was going to go back on the diet if I liked what I felt. Now, the reason is I was trying to see, Dr. Cywes and all the other people, Dr. Barry and stuff like this, and a lot of them talk about being addicted and stuff like this to sugars and carbs. And there's no doubt, I was 60 years, I was eating, I lived on carbs, horrible carbs, and sugars and everything else. And as I said before, I was treating my body like a tent instead of a temple. And I wanted to see how hard it was going to go back on. And I kind of combined this with Judy Cho and using the carnivore diet as an elimination. And I wanted to see how hard it was to get back on, what was going to happen, how long it would take me to get back into ketosis, that type of thing. And I had this all planned out. Then I was going to go from then until Thanksgiving. And at Thanksgiving, I was going to take my weight, and I was going to, at that time, I didn't think I was going to see Dr. Cywes, but I did see Dr. Cywes, and he ordered a whole bunch of blood tests and other tests, which we'll talk about in a second. And so I decided to do those right before Thanksgiving, and I had scheduled my next visit with him in December. So I was going to get all those done. He said to do those at least 2 weeks before my appointment with him. And then after Thanksgiving, I wanted to see what happened to me and my body and everything if I just ate and drank and went back to my old ways, and how hard it was going to be to get right back on this and see exactly what happened. And so basically that is today, really. That is today. And that's why I'm doing this video. And I'm going to explain to you a lot of these things. I'm even going to show you how I cook, because people ask me, what are you eating today? I don't know what you're eating today. Because you have to remember, a lot of you folks out there have, more about this than I do. And there's people out there that are kind of scratching their heads, like the people that I had Thanksgiving dinner with, that were kind of going, maybe we want to try this. But I'll tell you the same thing I told them. You've got to learn what's going on, and I'll explain this as you go on. Not because you could get hurt, which if you had a medical condition, but that may preclude you from doing this. But the thing is, you have to learn about signs and how to tailor that, because you're kind of tweaking this diet for your body. And then I was going to do this all the way into the Christmas holidays, New Year's, and then test myself to see how well I could tweak that and get through those holidays. Now, I'll tell you the same thing I told Dr. Cywes, the reason I'm doing this. To me, and I can't put words in his mouth, but there's absolutely no doubt in his mind that a lot of this has like mental overrides, and whether you're really addicted, because he'll tell you that he is addicted. In other words, like he says, he doesn't eat one apple, he eats the whole tree worth of apples. And I wanted to see whether I could do that and whether I personally could control it, because like I said, everybody's different. So that's where I sit today. And today is, like I said, right after that Thanksgiving Day weekend. Now, you'll see in some of these things, I didn't just eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I may have had a little bit of avocado, and I kind of like avocado, and I use avocado oil, and it just kind of satisfied that something in me. And I consider a lot of this to be mental. And being single, it's relaxing to me. It feels good to go out with my friends, have a cocktail, or down here in the villages, you'll understand it. Groups get together all the time. You have game nights and laugh and have fun. And I wanted to find out through this whole thing, and hopefully I can convey it to you, but that doesn't mean it's right for you, about where my boundaries are and how to function through this as I change my body and I move from this carb, sugar addiction into trying to help my body be fat adapted. Now, right before Thanksgiving, I went and had all these tests done, and I'll tell you what some of them were. I had my regular new primary care that I found down here, had me do, the only thing he wanted me to do was just order me the basic blood tests after 30 days. And I had a coronary artery ultrasound duplex on each one to see how that was. And the gal that did it, even though she wasn't a doctor, she said, I think you're going to be okay. I really don't see anything in there, but she wasn't the doctor. And I haven't gotten those results yet. Dr. Cywes ordered a page of blood tests, urine tests, something where I breathed into a bag and swallowed some sugar, and then 15 minutes later, I get back and blew back in the bag, and I guess they take samples of that, did urinalysis, and he also ordered a calcium CAC score, calcium artery, score. Yeah, I got that close. And anyway, so all those tests were ordered. I haven't gotten the results back because they were done the day before I left, kind of right before Thanksgiving. And I see Dr. Cywes in 2 weeks from now. So we're going to see what happens with all that. So that's basically the game plan. That's where I stand. And I'm inviting you along on this as I do it. And I'll tell you some of the things he said and what happens on the next visit. When I get all these tests back to find out what my body's going to be like after treating it like a tent, like I said, for 60 years. And hopefully that all works. But anyway, let me tell you about my visit with him, and then we'll talk about some of the 30-day blood tests that I had. I'll throw a quick picture of Dr. Cywes up here just so that people who have never seen him on YouTube have some idea what he looks like. But when I went into his office, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. And every other time I've gone into a doctor's office, you go in, there's the blood pressure, there's this, that, there's the table you sit on, and you kind of wonder what part of the room you're supposed to sit in. Well, here you go into a room that kind of looks like a waiting room. And I didn't sit there very long, just kind of hung out for a second. And in he comes, got up, shook his hand, and we started talking. I had no idea how long this was going to last. I didn't know what was involved, but I'm kind of looking at him going, well, where's the stethoscope? And where's this? Where's that? And how are you going to take my blood pressure? And so on and so on. Now, I will tell you, when I went there, I went and I had sent them ahead of time my most recent blood tests and that what I had. So he was already prepared with that. So he kind of had an idea of where I stood, and he had those in his hand when he came through the door. And there wasn't that much. It was just looked like a waiting room. And we sat down and we started talking. And spoiler alert, I'll tell you right now, the visit was over an hour long, or I'm pretty sure it was over an hour long, or right around an hour. And we just started talking. And he kind of explained who he was and how he works. And he started, we had this back and forth conversation. And I think what he was doing was just trying to find out who I was. And it was almost like a mental visit, which was kind of refreshing because he was really trying to, or as it seemed like, he was really trying to find out who I was. And I told him what my goals were. Now, I just told you basically what I told him, but obviously in a much more condensed version because I was paying to sit there. And I do remember him saying to me that he goes, well, I can tell, now I don't know whether a lot of you know this, but I used to be a pilot in the Air Force. And they used to say to us that pilots, jet jockeys and surgeons and stuff, doctors, surgeons seem to have the same attitude, A-type personality type thing. You want to move at the speed of lightning, that type of thing. And he says to me right away, he goes, hey, he said, let me tell you something. You've heard the story of the tortoise and the hare. He said, I know, Rusty, as I can tell right away, you want to move at the speed of a hare. You want to do it now. You want to get it done. Because I had told him, I jumped right in to Carnivore. I said, I know I should have done it, but you know what? I explained to him a story that I had I put a CGM in, and I saw how drastic it had changed when I was out drinking and doing that kind of stuff. I said, that's it. I just want to do this right away. So I did it. But he said, and it made a lot of sense, and this is why I continued on with him. He said, we move at the pace of the tortoise. And he said, I know you want to be the hare and go flying out there, but we move at the speed of the tortoise. And the basic concept that I got from him is that he does not want to know that you have high cholesterol or high blood pressure. He wants to know why. What are the underlying factors that cause you to have high blood pressure? Now, I explained there's 4 different types. And then with cholesterol, what is causing this to be high? Then go back, and this is the way I understood it. I'll find out whether I was right on the second visit here in December. But so we're going to go through this battery of tests, which the CAC score done on my arteries and that type of stuff in the heart. We had CT X-rays of my heart and all this type of thing. He never even took my blood pressure. He didn't even go there. What he did do, though, is I think he could tell that I keep a constant watch on my blood pressure, and I told him some of the problems I was having with my blood pressure. And I got to tell you this story because he prescribed I'll call it self-dosing type of blood pressure medicine because I was telling him I had these little spikes and stuff. When I went to Walgreens, the druggist, the pharmacist said, hey, whoa, and a red flag went off. And then I explained to her what was going on. Her words were, that's pretty smart. That's a good doctor. You want to hang on to him. Now, we'll find out. I keep the doors open. But so anyway, that was really the visit, and he kind of knew that I had done a lot of legwork before I got there. And he had, talked about sugars and everything you would see on his videos, he kind of condensed into this one meeting, but by feeling me out, he tailored it. At the end, and then he gave me this, which is kind of the rules of the road for him. In other words, you don't eat rice. You don't eat potatoes, all right? That kind of thing. The gluten crap's all out. Vegetables, he doesn't count as anything. You can have vegetables, but as he puts it, it's not the star of your plate. The chunk of meat is. He explained to me the way he lives and the way he eats. And, I told him my whole thing was, through this whole thing, was that I just couldn't see myself living in this little tiny carnivore bubble that I couldn't go out with my friends and stuff. And that was what I was trying. And he was good with it. He was good with the whole thing. And he knew exactly what I was doing with this. So that's it. I have all these tests that I just did right before Thanksgiving. I'm going to go see him again in December. And I guess we're going to put a game plan together for that. Now, speaking of that game plan, I had, first of all, let me say thank you so much to everybody that put these comments down, because one, there's some comments that were really bad, the people trying to give medical advice and stuff like that. I just won't put them there. If you want to tell me about your story and things that happens, I said that I think that's great. I love these comments. I've learned so much from your comments, and I know a lot of you don't know it, but I read every single one. I can't answer them all. I'm sorry. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time. I'm out enjoying life. What can I tell you? So what I did was right before, probably a month before I went in to see him, I had the regular doctor prescribed blood tests done. And I know a lot of you ask, well, and a lot of people that don't understand the carnivore diet thing about what's going on. And a lot of people, you get pushback. People go, I don't understand how you can just eat meat. What do you mean you don't eat any vegetables? And I didn't for 30 days. I did not eat any vegetables. So I wanted to give you, a lot of people asked about some of my blood work. And ask, well, what are the numbers? What were the numbers? Now, I tell you, it's none of your business, but I will tell you about some things because I think it's important to this whole thing. And I'm just going to read these out in no particular order. So a couple months before I went here, my glucose level was 105. All right. And after 30 days of doing carnivore, the beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, it was 77. And that's well within the green. So if you think of what I'm reading, I don't really you can see this right there. You can see that that's actually what I'm reading off of. So my sodium level, because I was eating a lot of salt. I really was, and I listened to Dr. Barry, listened to his blood pressure thing. My sodium level was at 140 and beforehand, and it was 138 now. And let me tell you, I put a lot of salt on those steaks. I really liked it. Let's see what else would be what you folks would look at. Protein level was 6.9. That was well in the green. So let's talk about the lipid panel. It was just a standard lipid panel that I had done. It was 180. So 180 for total cholesterol, and this basically says that anything below 200 is green. But it went from 180 after eating just beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, went from 180 total cholesterol to 161. My HDL was kind of on the low side prior to this, was 42, and it went up to 50. So that was in the green before it was just barely there. My triglycerides were 75 prior to this, and they were 88 now. So that was well below, they say, 150. He looked at all these and he told me we're going to work on maneuvering where he thinks they should be. Although, as he said, you're in a pretty good place. Now, my cholesterol HDL-C ratio before it was 3.2, and it still is 3.2. My LDL cholesterol on this one was 93. My A1C, and I appreciate the comments you guys give, but I do understand A1C and how that works. So for years, the way I was eating, my A1C was right around 6.0. Now, as you know, a lot of people would say that's like borderline, kind of borderline, maybe pre-diabetic or whatever, but I was never really diagnosed that way. In 30 days, although take it with a grain of salt, but it went down to 5.3. Now, I will say that my CGM on there has a continuous glucose monitor, just in case you don't know what that is. So I have a little thing in my arm, and it continually monitors my glucose. And there is a algorithm in there that it says it estimates what your A1C would be converted over if you had an actual blood test done, and it actually was 5.3. So it was right on the dot. Now, I have uric acid, and they say if you eat red meat and you do all this stuff, your uric acid is going to go crazy and you're going to end up getting gout. I am on allopurinol to help control that, but I could tell he wants to get me off of that. It went from it was at 6.0, and now it had dropped to 5.8, which is in the green. So those are my numbers, and they're in the limits right now, but he wants to tweak those even more. Now, I'll be really curious to see exactly, now that we did his full-blown panel, to see exactly be between the calcium score and the duplex and all that other stuff, exactly how I fared with all the tests that he had done. Yeah. That was my visit with him and the numbers I went over. Now, with this, he tells you basically it's a basic introductory plan, and all these things are on here, like things like, so part of it is mental too. Like on here, he says, cooking is relaxing, endorphin, relaxing experience. Make yourself proud of what you eat. So I do. I'm going to put on here, I'm going to show you me cooking a steak and what I eat, because a lot of you ask, well, what do you eat in a day? I'm going to show you exactly. And he goes through these stages. And so like the stage 3, no snacking, no carbs, and that type of thing. And he has a couple of strict rules. Like I said, no potatoes, no rice, that kind of thing. And you basically are working your way into these blood tests, and then he's going to tweak a lot of that, I guess, so I'm a lot better off. My end of it is the reason I went out for Thanksgiving and just blew my diet up, which I'll show you how bad I blew it up. You're not going to believe it. And you're not going to believe the amount of weight that I put on. I have a Withings and I'll show you what this is. I'll put the links down. I love this scale. I'm going to talk about that really quick. I get on it every single morning, and it's a motivational thing because it has a graph right on it, and it shows me. And I'll tell you what, the night before when I'm eating, it helps me because it motivates me between this glucose monitor going, oh God, I don't want to raise that, and the weight thing. I don't want to see my weight go up in the morning. So it's really a motivational thing that keeps me from shoveling that French fry in my mouth or something like that. So my camera just popped off. So that was the visit to Dr. Cywes. Now let me get into a few more things that are kind of fun here. I'm going to show you exactly what I weighed when I started this and what I weighed the day before Thanksgiving and then the day after Thanksgiving. Oh God. It is actually the next day, the next morning, because I went and cooked myself some dinner last night. But I thought maybe before I get into the Thanksgiving thing, I actually had gotten some new pans, and a lot of people ask me what I had been eating each day. And I actually recorded myself cooking my dinner the night before I left for Thanksgiving, my Thanksgiving weekend, and the next morning for breakfast, so I can kind of show you. So I'll show you what I had actually been eating prior to this, because I know this is so far in the carnivore thing for people. So, I'll just show you what I ate. If you want, you can skip ahead, but there's some kind of cool stuff in there. And you definitely learn to cook differently when you're on this. So the first one was a couple of fillets with some butter, garlic, and that kind of stuff. And the next morning was some eggs and stuff that I cooked on pan. So anyway, here's this clip, and then we'll get right into the next day, what followed on Thanksgiving, and that started out actually at a distillery. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to show you all the weights of what happened and what happened to, anyway, just watch this part. I get a lot of questions about what I actually eat, so I figured I'd show you. Tonight I am having twin fillets, and actually there's enough, probably more than what I'm going to eat there, but I'm also going to have, I call it an avocado salad, a few pieces of avocado, and I'm going to cook this in garlic, thyme, and butter. So I guess since there's a little avocado in there, you're probably thinking, okay, well that's not this, but I'm cheating. So this is the day before Thanksgiving. It is the day of my massive blood test from Dr. Cywes. And actually, it's the first time I've used these pans, hex-clad pans. I'll let you know at the end whether I like them or not, but I will put these on here. Once this gets up to, I'll probably get this up to, about 400. Right now it's at 338. So, and then that's it. See how this pan works? Right now I'm gonna get my salt on there. Oh yeah, nice and seared. Basically what I'm doing is I'm letting the pan cool down so that when I put the butter in there, it doesn't burn. Okay, down to 350. We're gonna put some garlic in there. We're gonna put the butter in there. Oh yeah, that smells good. I'm gonna turn up the heat a little more. A little aromatics in now. And I'm gonna start basting pretty good. Not very good with those tongs tonight. Yeah, we'll take a little bit of this butter sauce. There you go, just about perfect. Gotta love it. I figure I do, since I did dinner, I might as well show you what I eat for breakfast. And a lot of people ask what I eat for breakfast, but I generally don't eat breakfast. I'll go out in the morning and play pickleball or golf or something like that. And by the time I come back, it's around lunchtime. But I'm not playing pickleball today, so I'm actually going to have breakfast, but I'll even have this for lunch. Basically what it consists of is about 2.5 pieces of bacon, and then a couple of fried eggs. And I'll take the first egg, come on now, and I'll pour off the egg white on the first one. And then, I'm having a hard time today for some reason. And take the second egg. Because as we know, like 15 years ago, they told us, don't eat the egg yolks. Don't eat that. Now they're saying go ahead and eat the yolks. So, you know, what do they say? It's nature's perfect food. But you gotta watch for a lot of bacons because that they don't cure it with sugars and stuff like that. So you need to watch out for that. But anyway, these are the new pans that I have. And so far, I used it for dinner last night, cooking the fillets. These are hex clad. So far I like them. You know, I've played with them a little bit. It's the first time cooking bacon and eggs in them. But I'll put the link down below. I think they have some Black Friday sales coming up or something like that. Kind of you can brown stuff in them and stuff like that. But anyway, you can get them. They might make a good Christmas gift. Get them and still return them even if you don't like them. There, if you're part of Amazon. But that's it. I'll let these cook a little bit and then I'll show you what I do with that. Don't throw the bacon grease out. Take the bacon grease. This is a hot pan right now. And I just pour just a little bit of bacon grease in there. And in go the eggs. Let's see how this pan does with the eggs. Do that on high heat. I like my eggs a little runny. that's about it. And the reason I say keep this is you can kind of wipe these clean. I just lay that in there and it soaks up all the grease instead of letting it run down your sink or throwing it in the wastebasket. You just pick up the towel and wipe it off and throw it in. And that's about it. My over easy eggs, chopped bacon, and a couple extra pieces of bacon. So that's my 2 meals for the day. That and the steak, I'm good to go. That was it. That's basically what I ate. And for the first 30 days, it was that minus the avocado. I was pretty much straight beef, bacon, butter and eggs, and whatever. But, you know, also I tried to vary it and get a little creative. I mean, here's a cheeseburger that I had with an egg on top. And then I have an air fryer that I love that thing. That's great because I'll do chicken wings. And here I did chicken thighs with a kind of a breading that I made out of pork rinds and a little bit of egg and what do you call this? Parmesan, grated hard Parmesan cheese, not the kind that you get in there. And then, boy, look at my little pudgy little face right there. And this was in the very beginning. I kind of made a cheeseburger with, these are called chaffles, and they're made with pork rinds and cheese and stuff like that, and made a bacon cheeseburger out of it. Got a little too complicated for me, but it was interesting. It kind of made me feel like I was having a cheeseburger. But anyway, that was at the very beginning. Boy, I can tell the difference in my face. I just looked at that. Anyway, so where I was just cooking them was right before I left for Thanksgiving. And when I weighed in that morning, that was the morning that I actually drove up there. I weighed in, and I'll show you here. This is on my weighing scale. I believe it was 187, and that's when I had left. Now that's about, since I had started, that's about 35 pounds. So I was down 35 pounds. So now I am up to that point where in my designed plan to learn about how everything was happening, I was getting ready to leave for Thanksgiving, and I was just going to go hog wild and have a good time, and I'll show you what I did. Now, also, I took a ketone reading with my Keto Mojo right before I left, and I think it was like 2.0, somewhere around 2.0. But prior to that, unless I went off of the quite beef, butter, bacon, and eggs type thing, it was anywhere between 2 and 4. It would fluctuate around there. And in the very beginning, it was very high, and I was burning a lot of fat off my body. So now I left, I'm down, you saw the reading there, I think 187.1 pounds or whatever that morning when I left. So let's talk about Thanksgiving. And then after we get done this, I am going to go back and use some of the comments and questions that you guys submitted and answer a few of those. And like I said, thank you so much. So here we go, the beginning of the Thanksgiving Day weekend. Being single, it's always nice during the holidays and Thanksgiving and stuff like that, especially since I moved down to Florida, when your friends invite you along to go for Thanksgiving. Well, my good friend Mary invited me to go with her for the weekend with her family up in Carolinas, which turned out to be an absolute wonderful trip. Now, remember, as of that morning, I was off the diet. I was going to have fun. I was going to treat it like a holiday weekend and do all the stupid things. So the first place we stopped off at was, on the way up, was St. Augustine Distillery. Now, my bourbon of choice is one of them is their port barrel bourbon, which I absolutely love. So here is Mary and I at the bourbon distillery, for which we tried little itty bitty taste testings of different things, but that also included the mixes and stuff they have, which has sugar in it. What else? And then we decided to go upstairs. They have a really nice restaurant. We went up there to have lunch. And if you take a look at this lunch, would probably make Dr. Cywes quiver a little bit because it's got potatoes on it and fried food. And I know all the bad things, but it was that weekend and this is what I was having. Now you're going to see how the CGM plays its part in this about learning about my body. But where the CGM went absolutely crazy was when we stopped in Buc-ee's. Now, if you're not familiar with a Buc-ee's, you're not allowed to have big rig trucks in there, but it's like a car stop that if you haven't been there, go there. But it's got everything possibly in there except for beef jerky. They've got some great beef jerky, brisket there and stuff like that. All of these things and that have just tons of sugar in it that I absolutely love. And one of those is sea salted caramel beaver nuggets, which is kind of like popcorn, caramel popcorn, that type of thing. And I munched on that, and I'm going to show you the CGM, exactly what happens, so you can see what in the world happens to your body when you eat this stuff. And then we arrived at South Carolina that night for dinner. Now, if you take a look at this, right when I left was right around 8 o'clock. I think I maybe munched on a little something, but I was all excited and geared up and ready to go and jumping around. And that was probably my cortisol kicking in right there. And then we hit lunch. And as you can see, even with the little bit of the tasting right there, whatever happened, I had a little bump right there. And then we had lunch and it kind of skyrocketed a little bit. And then we stopped at Buc-ee's. And take a look at what these things that I ate did to me. Shot my glucose meter up to 150 as I ate these things as I was on the road. Now, I didn't look at this, so I had no idea it was doing this. But when I went back and looked at it, I almost had a heart attack looking at just that. And so I was munching on these sugar things and whatever else she got, that type of thing. And this is literally what happened to my glucose. Now, I had not seen that glucose meter hit 150 before. I think there's 13 grams of sugar in each one of those things. And I don't know how many servings is in a bag, but I made a serious nuclear hit on that bag. And luckily it came back down and didn't crash back down. But you can see exactly what went right there. And as it came back down, that's about the time I hit dinner. You can see a little bump there and then went back down. But here's the thing you learn, and this is about learning about your own body and stuff. It looks fine. So you're talking about 9. I went to bed around 10 o'clock, and you can see my blood sugar jacking up and down. And this is what makes me wake up in the middle of the night. So when I'm drinking, I'm eating sugar, this type of thing, because we had dinner and dessert and stuff. Waking up in the middle of the night, I was in a strange place and blah, 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 blah. So you really get to see on a graph what's going on with your body. And this is why this CGM I like it. Now, I know people are going to ask me where I got the CGM. I get it at Walgreens. It's a Freestyle Libre 3. You need to get a prescription to get that. And basically it's $2 a month. And I got some kind of weird discount that they showed me how to get. I don't even know what it is, so don't ask. But I get them. They cost me about $41 a piece. So that's about $82 a month. Anyway, that's it for just the first day. What I'm going to do is show you the whole weekend in about 2 seconds. Well, not 2 seconds, but on this graph. First of all, for Thanksgiving, this is basically what I had. And this was the first plate. So I had 3 plates. I figured out what I liked in the beginning, and I didn't hold back on anything. The green, yellow stuff up top is corn, and that was sweet. And then there's the jelly in the can and all that kind of stuff. Now take a look at the CGM for that whole week, 23rd right through the 27th. And it was crazy. I mean, this is the first time I've ever looked at anything like this, and how crazy this was. A couple of times it almost got up to the 150 mark. And if you look at the very end, the last day, which is my drive back, we stopped at Buc-ee's again. And we also stopped and had lunch, and I was eating these crazy little fresh donut hole things with some kind of sweet pure sugar on them, whatever it was, a glazing. And as you can see, that's right where it spiked once again. So think about it. This is the way I've been living the last 50 years. Now take a look at the 28th. That's literally Tuesday, the first day back, eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. I mean, take a look at it. The first spike right there at 7 o'clock or so is when I got up in the morning. It was very cold down here. Went out and did 4 mile, it was a pretty fast walk straight through without any break or anything like that. And I was under 17-minute miles. So I was moving along pretty good. And look at the rest of the day, flatline. Compare that to, I just went back and took one from November 8th. That was right there is just a typical day. And that includes going out and playing pickleball. That includes eating 2 meals in the day. You can learn a lot just by looking at this. And it actually, when I sit there and look at this weekend, which, like I said, it was an experiment to see exactly what would happen with a CGM and how I felt afterwards. This is it. That's as atrocious as it looked. Now, it's 2 days afterwards now. I've eaten nothing but pretty much beef and eggs, and I'm starting to feel better. And here's some things that I noticed. I noticed right away after that weekend, my hands felt a little kind of puffy already. They felt a little creaky, I'll say. Not as bad as it used to be, because when I totally came off the sugar, man, all of my stiffness went away. If you haven't seen the other one, I had diverticulitis. During this weekend, I started getting cramps and started feeling a little funky down there. It kind of worried me. I kept going, but I was kind of abusing my body. I feel a lot better right now. My back used to feel really bad before I went carnivore. It feels a lot better. My sleeping, I actually had to take I have some Ambien. I rarely ever take it, but just to get back to sleep this weekend, like the second or third day, I had to take some Ambien just to knock myself out down there. And I mean, not bad, but I knew I was going to have a long day the next day. I wanted to make sure that I got to sleep, and we were going to play golf and pickleball and all that kind of stuff. So as you can see, this was a eye-opener for me, and I hope it's an eye-opener for you. So you can see, if you're not looking at this, when you're going out and eating some of Buc-ee's nuggets, or you're eating some of these donuts and stuff like that, I'm kind of lucky that after I ate these things and stuff, my body was able to take care of it and drop my glucose back down without totally crashing. And you start to learn about these things. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go to some of your comments and questions. I appreciate these so much. And we'll just fire through a bunch of these really quick, and I'll try to answer some. And I think what I'll do is maybe on follow-on Wednesdays, I'll pull some of these comments and questions out and answer them about what I'm going through. But I just wanted to let you know what this weekend looked like in a graph. Oh, I almost forgot the biggest thing here. I want to show you what I weighed in at. Check this out. This is off of the Withings scale. I think it's not up on my screen right now, but I think it was 198 pounds or something, just under 200. So think about this. I left at 187.1, and I arrived back home on the morning of the 27th, or the morning The morning of the 28th, I weighed myself, which would have been my first full day back here, and I weighed 190 something. Now, this is another day afterwards. I lost like almost 5-6 pounds the next day. And I'm telling you, I could feel it all in my stomach. It was in my colon. I felt bloated. And, you know, you go number 2 and you let loose a lot. So for those folks that have never done this before, when you start to go carnivore, the most bizarre thing happens is, I hate to talk about poop. It's kind of weird. I feel weird talking about it, but you don't go as much. I mean, sometimes I'd go 2 times a day before, or more, depending on whether it was Thanksgiving or not, but before carnivore. And then once I was on carnivore, I think sometimes I was like once in 5 days. The thing is that when you're eating just meat like that, your body just devours it all. Instead of trying to get rid of it, all these bad things you're eating, it utilizes all of that meat. So anyway, that was another huge thing, and I'm already back down again. So on the next video, I'll let you know. Anyway, let's go to some of those comments and questions, and then we'll sum this up. And the next video down the road is going to be my second visit with all my tests and stuff like that. Let's try some of these. This is what I'm going to do. If you're watching this, this is the 3rd day of doing this. It definitely turned out longer than what I thought it was, but I wanted to include all this stuff. And like I said, the chapters in the very beginning when I interrupted in this, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that there was chapters and that type of thing. But I always find these fun. When I go back through the comments and questions, I always read all of them, because some of them are kind of knucklehead stuff, and I won't put on there things that give medical advice because I have no idea who you are. Anyway, so here we go. We're going to run through these pretty quick, and I'll try to make each one brief. You know, try. Sometimes my mouth gets a little runny. Gabbett writes, you still owe us what you learned about fiber. You announced at the beginning of the video that you would tell us later. Well, I'm all ears. And that was from the first video where I said I had lost 25 pounds. Well, now I got another 10 pounds off me almost, or the one I'm trying to get back from Thanksgiving. But as many of you know, if you watch the prior ones, I was diagnosed with acute diverticulitis. So I had diverticulosis. Most of us our age have that. It's pockets in the colon, and it can get severely infected to the point where they almost put me in the hospital, but through treatment and stuff like that, I was fine. Now, when you have that happen to you, and I had listened to Dr. Chafee on this, and Dr. Barry alluded to it and everything else, but my doctors said, this is the way you treat it. You come off of fiber totally, like you're supposed to go on a liquid diet, stay away from fiber, right? And then you're supposed to gradually bring fiber back in. And I said to the doctor, I said, well, I don't get it. If I'm supposed to go off fiber and fiber is bad for me with diverticulitis, why would I go? I'm thinking, why would I go back on it, right? And this was about the time I was about ready to get started on the carnivore diet. And so, like I've told everybody on here to do, consult your medical professionals and then you make your own decision. My regular doctor said, don't forget you have to eat fiber and you should eat a well-balanced diet, not meat, right? And then I had a hematologist for something else that's since cleared up, I think. And but I go back to her every once in a while to check my blood work. And she said, hey, when I told her I was going on this, hey, great diet. I'm glad you're getting healthy. Don't forget about the fiber. Well, obviously I haven't had any fiber really, except for the few avocados I eat once in a while. And I have not had any problems with the diverticulosis, diverticulitis. In fact, my bowels are much better than they used to. So that was the thing that I'm still learning about fiber, but that's me. And through my experiment, I have not had any problems with this. But trust me, every day when I wake up, I think about it. I'm kind of on the lookout on to the next question. Yeah, I generally don't read these questions that are long, and most of the time they're addressed to me. But I think this is kind of a unique story. Well, it's not unique. That's the problem. I hear this kind of stuff about type 2 diabetes all the time through these. Remember, I am not a medical professional. Don't listen to me. But I think it's kind of fun to relay this story because it sums up a lot of stories that I've actually heard. So I'm going to try to read this as fast as my lips can move and sit back and enjoy, and I'll comment a little through it because it is a little long. Moving next week to the villages. Well, congratulations. That was a little while ago that I had done this, so you may already be here. I was beyond thrilled to see a video you released today about the carnivore diet. I recently bought a home in the villages and will be moving there next week. It's nice to know that there is at least one other person in my hometown who has experienced firsthand the miraculous health benefits that result from eating a meat-based diet. Let me interrupt here really quick. It seems there's a lot of people in the villages that do this, and through some of my other comments and questions, actually a lot of them, there's people trying to want to start a group. I'm happy to be part of that group. I'm happy to come to that group. I just don't have time to start that with all of this. I'd have to take out a time from this and pickleball and everything else that I get so busy doing. Anyway, I hope that gets started. Please let me know if it does. And this is a great story. In 2012, we accidentally reversed my 91-year-old mother's type 2 diabetes without even knowing it was possible. In fact, we did such a good job that we almost killed her. When I read this, I just kept reading. We didn't know that a simple change in a meat-based diet could cause her blood sugar levels and blood pressure to normalize to the point where there's no longer needed any diabetes medications or blood pressure medications. Mine's come down too. Obviously, a lot of things are changing in my body right now after less than 3 months. By continuing to give her those medications, her blood sugar and blood pressure dropped to dangerously low levels, and she ended up in the hospital. Not only did her A1C score drop from 10 to 5.7 through diet alone, so many of our other health conditions disappeared as well, such as paralysis, swollen ankles and feet, sores on the skins, and protruding belly. Well, my protruding belly's going away a little bit. I'm planning to try carnivore for 30-day challenge myself after I move to the villages. Please consult your physician when you get down here. I'm hoping there will be a little easier for me than it was for you, since I don't know anyone there. Meaning what she's saying is because I keep getting tugged to go out. Trust me, as long as you're friendly, you'll get to know a lot of people around here. Are you aware of any carnivore support groups being formed there yet? No, I'm not. I hope somebody contacts me and gives me, obviously people connect through Facebook around here. So if you create a Facebook group, people will jump onto that. And if there is a Facebook group and I get a chance to go to it, I will announce it on here. I'm looking forward to hearing about your experience with Dr. Cywes. I'm aware of at least 2 other physicians practicing in Florida who are huge proponents of prescribing CGMs to patients before they become diabetics. And that's me. And it was definitely a motivational factor if you had watched Thanksgiving and my CGM. Dr. Bosworth, AAK Dr. Boz, I've seen something about that. Maybe she'll contact me. It'd be kind of fun to do something with her. And Kolodzik, I guess, licensed to do telemedicine in Florida. They both post videos on video. Well, thank you very much for writing that. It's kind of a cool story. I think I already commented on it. I hope you're having a good time in the villages already. And I really do hope that somebody does start some carnivore stuff in the villages. On to the next question. Fun story. This is actually going to be an easy one. Carl Mulpulsi. So much. This is going to be an easy one. Do you drink coffee? How much, if so? I feel like Dr. Cywes in this one. Cywes. I don't want to keep trying to say Cywes. I do one coffee in the morning, and very seldom do I get through it. Now, here's some key things that I think I've learned. Do not use artificial sweeteners in there. Obviously, do not use sugar in there. And I'm using less and less all the time, pure cream, like heavy whipping cream or something like that, organic whipping cream. And I only put just a little bit in there, as I say, to color. And it just gives it that little creamy taste. So I think the big thing is to find the coffee you like, if you like it, and use just a little cream if that's what it is, but no sugar, artificial sweeteners. If you read that book, The Carnivore Cure by Judy Cho, I'll put the link down below. I find that so interesting in a lot of things that are in there. Like I said, you don't need to adapt every single one of these things. I don't think I haven't, and go crazy. And that's what this experimental up until the new year is all about. And then I'm going to make a decision for the following year to see how I can go through that along with Dr. Cywes' help, which I go to him December 16th. So anyway, yes, I do drink coffee, and I only drink it in the morning because I know that caffeine can hang around late at night. And as we get older, we kind of have hard time sleeping. And speaking of that real quick, I have noticed that keeping coffee away from the afternoon, keeping all those sugars and everything out towards the end of the day, you saw my glucose monitor, how crazy that was through the night after having a lot of sugars and stuff like that, keeping me up. Anyway, that's helped out a lot, and I definitely sleep better. Next question. Arlene, thanks for writing in. Really appreciate it. And having a name my simpleton mind can pronounce. When I was type 2 diabetic and obese, my PCP, which is a primary care physician, warned me that keto should not be consumed long term. After reversing my blood sugar and losing 20 pounds within a short time, she told me that there was no pill or advice she could give me to obtain those results. Now that I am carnivore 4 years later with a 55-pound weight loss, she recommends that I continue my way of eating. Yeah, and a little happy poopy there. I'll tell you what. I was just at a party last night, and of course, my friends and stuff like this around here, they're all going, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing?" I mean, you jumping 30 pounds, 35 pounds, whatever it is now, off of me is a lot. And, when your friends see you just a few months later, they're going, "What the heck happened there?" And so somebody said to me last night at a party, said, "Hey, I talked to my cardiologist, and he says, no way, I should stop eating meat, Now, I don't know what, I don't give advice, so I told him, I said, well, I can't tell you anything any different. I can tell you what I do, and that's always what I'll say on here is what I'll do. You have to do and make your own decisions and listen to your physician, and you decide. In fact, I'll tell you what, one thing I liked about Dr. Cywes was he said to me, looked right at me, and he says, you're going to make the decision. We're going to put together all the information, and you're going to make the decision. I said, no, you and I are going to make this decision because that's the way I just said it to him. But anyway, I like that about him. Then he said, hey, he's not turning around going, okay, here's a pill, see you later. And that's my experience after the one visit. But this person said to me, my doctor said flat out, you got to stop eating meat. I told him, I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is my numbers and everything looks good for now. We'll find out when we get all of the information together because I haven't gotten it yet. And where my cardiovascular system sits right now. I'm pretty sure all the results are in. I'm just waiting to go see Dr. Cywes. Anyway, that's great to hear, Arlene. I am so happy for you and that it's working out to you for you. But it seems like it's not an uncommon story. Okay, on to the next question. Yeah, here goes one that's been a doozy for me too. But Victor writes, thanks for having a good name too, and thanks for writing in, Victor. Really appreciate it. This is a good one because I'm sure a lot of people think about this. Hi, have you gotten any gout attacks after starting the diet? I started the diet 3 weeks ago, already lost 10 pounds and feel great. And but since I have gout also, I'm still a bit scared about eating beef yet. I'm not sure how you started the diet without eating beef because you really want to do that for I believe for multiple reasons. Can't wait though. I started the diet because of the extreme pain of gout. Thanks. Like I said, you gotta keep saying this. You have to consult your physician as to what you're doing. Now, just to recap, I'm looking at this. My uric acid before I started this was 6.0, and now it's 5.8. So it's gone down a little bit. I am on allopurinol. When I visited with Dr. Cywes, he alluded to the fact that we were going to try to get me off the gout medicine to see what happens with this after a while. Like I said, I am on allopurinol, and he actually did give me a script in hand for colchicines. If you don't know about gout, that's an anti-inflammatory that's used a lot to treat gout. But I have not had anything that even resembles that since I started this. Now, with that in mind, I haven't had an attack for quite some time. So the allopurinol seems to be working very well for me. And that's something we're going to discuss when we get these new blood tests back and stuff like that. So definitely consult with your physician and talk to them. And maybe you want to kind of get that in. I know if you go to like Quest and stuff like that, you can just walk in and get blood tests. So if you don't need a script for everything. So if you understand that, you can go to Quest. I use Quest Diagnostics because it's really close. And if you get on their mailing list, a lot of times they have, believe it or not, sales on getting blood tests. So if you want, you can just go, as far as I understand it, schedule yourself for a uric acid test and try to get it while it's on sale and go in and get it. You can kind of track your own in there. Insurance may not cover it. If you do it, just for instance, when I went to get all these tests, part of that test that Dr. Cywes scheduled was a PSA test. And I had one back in January that was good, thank God. But because I had done it once in a year, Medicare won't cover it, but once every year. So you can only have it once a year. So that's it. Anyway, good question. And on to the next one. Thanks a lot, Victor. Hey, Anduricuria. That's as close as I'm going to get. First time listening to you. Happy I landed here. I keep falling off the carnivore diet. Fingers feeling puffy in the morning, and my blood pressure has been quite unstable. Hopefully I'll be back with a testimony. I'm encouraged enough to start off again. Yeah, that's what this whole kind of experiment was a couple of times where I went off. I wanted to see exactly what it was going to take to get back on. I wanted to know the feelings of when I got off. And definitely, like I said, I felt a little puffy when I closed my hands. And even this morning, so this is a few days afterwards, this is Thursday, so this is 3-4 days. I'm learning that 3-4 days afterwards is kind of when that joint inflammation stuff starts to set back in with me. So I've learned what's going to happen when I go off, and I can definitely feel it. And I know the next day afterwards, I looked at my CGM and it was starting to flatten out and go down. But what I'm starting to realize, and it seems like, is that it takes, 3 or 4 days for me for that joint pain inflammation to kick back in. And I'm realizing now that we've repeated this a couple of times that that's actually what's happening. Great statement. Wish you luck. On to the next one. This is, so a lot of you, I'm sure you know what keto flu is, but for those that don't, Daryl wrote in, you had keto flu. I'm not sure if that's a question because I don't know how much I brought that up. The keto flu is symptoms of when you start to go keto, meat-based, that type of thing. And everybody experiences different things, and that's why they say you should probably go into the carnivore diet kind of on the slow side and in stages. And I had done the Atkins a long time ago, so I kind of knew what was going on. For me, it kind of consists of a stuffiness in my head, and I get a headache. And even, in fact, coming back from this Thanksgiving, I kind of got a headache last night, and it was kind of kicking in, and then I woke up with the joint fingers. But everybody experiences it differently, but that's why I say it's so important to just watch videos, read books, read listen to Dr. Barry and Judy. It doesn't mean you need to follow these people perfectly. Go on the internet and listen to knuckleheads like me and explain part of our stories, and you'll start to pick up different things of what to expect. And all of a sudden you go, okay, well, that's normal. That's not normal. Or how do I cure this? And I'll give you, for instance, you listen to some of these surgeons talk about, well, I'm actually getting constipated. Well, you're probably not eating enough fat in your diet. It is still so hard for me to go, hey, it's okay to eat this fat, but I am learning. Anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot for writing in, Daryl. Moving on. Backyard PC writes in, Rusty, my husband and I relate to your carnivore diet experience. My husband got on the carnivore diet, so I also started eating what he was eating. I wasn't on a diet to lose weight, although I needed to lose some, and I lost 10 pounds in a short period of time. What was most impressive was my liver blood work improved dramatically. Yeah, it's so important to keep track, and it helps to learn and motivate you by getting these blood tests. We also love and follow Dr. Ken Berry on YouTube. Yeah, me too. Maybe someday I'll get to talk to these guys when I punch up a bunch of questions for myself. He has been our teacher, A Long Diet Journey. Hey, I am about halfway through his book, The Lies Doctors Told Me. Very interesting. I'll put the link down below. You can get that through Amazon. I listen to the audiobooks when I'm out doing my walks and stuff like that. And actually, to tell you the truth, I look forward more to go on my walks just to continue the book. So it's kind of funny. Any ailment a person has, Dr. Barry has a video for. Yeah, these guys got a lot of videos out there. I'm only on number 2. Keep up the great job on your carnivore diet. Well, thank you, Backyard PZ. Thanks a lot for writing. That was a good story. And those books and those people will definitely help you out. Let's keep going. Sandy writes, I'm curious as to why you have a glucose monitor if you are now carnivore. Is that in case you deviate from meat only? Yeah, if you've watched the prior video, you'll definitely see that I'm trying to learn about my body, and I'm trying to learn what different things and how they work. I personally don't see myself for the rest of my life just eating red meat every single day. But with that said, I want to learn so that I can enjoy food a little. I can go out with my friends. I don't want to live inside this little bubble where I go into a restaurant and go, oh my God, a asparagus touched my meat. I can't eat it. I want to go out and enjoy myself. I want to be with my friends. And I think Dr. Cywes said, don't be I want to say a curse word, a vegetable whole. In other words, don't go out to a restaurant and go, I can't do that because go out and enjoy yourself. 2 seconds of something is not going to kill you unless, which I'm trying to find out, you're so addicted to stuff, carbs and sugar, that you can't touch this stuff. Right now, I know I had that long weekend, and so far, I'm right back on the horse again, so to speak. And that's me. And I went to a party last night, and I had a few little nuts. I had a little cheese, and I didn't drink. I had just like seltzer water, carbonated water. And that was about it. I think I took, just to tease myself, there was a little piece of a chocolate pretzel and a strawberry, and I took that, and that's what I ate. But I'm learning about myself, and I'm learning what I can do where I really don't spike stuff. So that's the big reason. And eventually, I'll probably get rid of it. But that's the answer. Few more, and then let me know if you enjoy these things, if you've gotten this far, and maybe I'll just do some separate videos just to this, because if this carnivore thing works, I call it carnivore loosely. Don't everybody go crazy on me because I eat avocado once in a while and stuff like that. Let's go on to the next one. This one's going to be the quickest one of all. Diane Cristino writes, would love to know what typical day in the life as far as what you eat in a day. Just go back to the chapter where I go cook my meal, and you're going to see exactly what I eat in a day. Next question. This one's a little long, and this may be the last one. I'm not really sure. Once again, let me know how you like these, and maybe we can do these a little more often. They're kind of fun. And anyway, this Nightingale writes, glad to hear you had an appointment with Dr. Cywes, and I hope it went well for you. Yes, it did. So far, so good. After learning about him from your video, I went to watch him in several videos and those of other physicians as well. As the videos of people that are just sharing their carnivore experiences. Yeah, you learn a lot from them because you learn what to expect. I resonated the most with Dr. Cywes's one size does not fit all approach. Yes, this is so important because everybody has different reactions. Some person may be able to drink coffee with artificial sweetener in, and it doesn't affect them at all. They lose weight. Other people, I've heard stories of once they cut out the coffee and the artificial sweeteners, boom, they just start losing weight when they weren't losing weight before. Last Monday, I began what you would call a hybrid keto diet, and shockingly, I've already lost 6 pounds. It just so happened that last Tuesday, I had an appointment with a PA who works with my PCP, and from an x-ray, I shared about it, what I was starting to do with the hybrid carnivore diet. She thought she was totally on board with that, and I will see her again next week so I can assess my progress. Because I love veggies and primarily low-carb ones, I highly doubt I will ever go full strict carnivore unless the health issue requires me to do so. Glad I started the diet and changed the journey because because the pants I ordered to wear for SantaCon South were a bit snug. Okay, in case you guys don't know it, SantaCon South is a big thing we are having here on December 9th, which we fear is going to be so big, a giant parade, golf carts. I will actually put the link down below to it if you want to see it. We did a video on that just the last week. But the gist of this is so important to realize that the better you arm yourself with knowledge about different things that can happen while doing this. And I'm not talking about bad things necessarily, just things that are going to happen. Things like, if you've eaten a bunch of vegetables for your whole life and all of a sudden you're knocking off the vegetables, so to speak. Have you heard of oxalate dumping? That could be it. That is talked about in Judy Cho's book, which I'll have the link down below. Things of that nature. And for me, it definitely will be a hybrid thing. And, Dr. Cywes alluded to the fact that, when he goes out a couple times a week, he'll poke at some vegetables or steal his kids' asparagus, whatever it is. But when he's at home, he pretty much eats carnivore. Well, that's kind of the way I planned on my diet and the way I guesstimated that I was going to do this if I was going to do it for the rest of my life and see what happens. And that's why I'm getting my blood tested a lot, and I'm also using the CGM monitor so that I can tell, well, oops, I better not eat that vegetable. Or, for instance, fruits. I eat fruits, and it sends that CGM monitor off on a roller coaster ride. That's just how it affects me. It may not affect others. I ate honey, and it was like a Saturn V rocket going off. Comes right back down without crashing, which is good, which I learned. And that's what it is. I think it's all learning about your body. Anyway, I think this is long enough. I'm going to call this quits right here. There were some other people that wrote in. There were some great questions. Like I said, I do read them all. I just don't have time to put them all on here, but they really do spark interest. And this is a great experiment. I guess my next point is when I go see Dr. Cywes on the 16th. Hopefully after that, if he doesn't tell me I'm about ready to croak, I will update you guys, or maybe down the road a little bit, we'll do something more with some of these comments and questions. Anyway, thank you so much. Like I said, I'll put all these things that I use down, links down below, the books and the scale. the scale that I use and the Keto Mojo that I use to check my ketones and the ketone strips that I use and all that kind of stuff. If you want to take a look at it, and the pans, can't believe I talked about all these things. Anyway, if for some reason I don't talk to you, it's coming into December. I wish you the happiest holidays. Not quite as happy as I had on Thanksgiving, but I really do wish you happy holidays. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It's a lot of fun, and I'm having a lot of fun talking to people out there, quote, on the road, so to speak. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you back here on YouTube, or I'll see you back in the villages. I most likely will keep trying to put these out on Wednesdays, and Sunday will be the normal villages type thing. I guess that's it. I'm out of time and out of breath. Bye.